Welcome back to another educational episode of the Myth-Busting Locksmith, and happy Halloween. So today we are looking at power tools versus hand tools and the alternative. Now, a lot of the work I do, obviously being a locksmith, is replacing, upgrading, fitting and changing locks, as well as the cylinders and associated escutcheons in doors. Now, 90% of the people I know work as builders and fitters of various things, and they absolutely love power tools like this. Big, chunky man tool, lots of power, very, very nice. A bad example, I grant you, but I always use a Leatherman tool because I can tell you that this will fit in all of these screws here, whether it is the very long skinny one here or the very short fat one here. They are opposite ends of the scale, and this will fit in both of them. It will also fit in this fat one here, which is a similar length but much fatter. So the Leatherman tool for me is very, very useful, and I always like using hand tools because I find when I'm putting screws in, if I use this, I can feel exactly how much pressure I'm using. I have absolute control over tiny, tiny, tiny twists, full twists, pushing it all the way around, or just a little slight tweak. Now, the important thing I have found with that is you can actually feel if the lock is going to get jammed up, or if the screw is going to get stuck or twist its threads in the wherever you're screwing it. Because if you twist the threads, you're going to have a nightmare getting it out. Not so much wood, as we demonstrated a while ago, if you remember on this block of wood here, but certainly in metal, and I still have a job to do getting a screw out of a metal door where the threads have been crossed and it has been hit by slamming it too hard against a wall. So it is very important knowing the pressure and effect that you have when twisting a screw in. Now, I did use a power tool once, one of these, and I screwed in a screw, and because it was too long, it went straight through the back of the lock and actually jammed it up. Other jobs I've been on, I've used ones of this length, and I found it's too long because it jams the lock, so I went to a shorter length. And using the shorter length and again a power tool, it jammed the lock. But I found using this, I was able to just twist it a little bit and work out the exact measurement it needed to stop it jamming. Now, when you compare this, if you will, to the screw, you can see that this is quite small and this is about the same size. You can imagine the amount of pressure that you can apply with this. You can screw it in very tightly, you can screw it in loosely, and you can adjust everything. This one, of course, much smaller, but again, you can twist it right in. And when it comes to how much you have to twist it to get it into a lock or into a door, you need to know that you are not doing it in too far. Of course, if you're fitting escutcheons into wooden doors, you're going to rip the wood to pieces. If you keep on spinning it round using one of these, it's just going to dig through the door, it's going to rip a hole in it, and then you're going to have to find a longer or fatter screw to fit. May not fit the escutcheon, may not fit the lock, and you might get stuck. Now, I know people absolutely love these things. Big, powerful, meaty man tool. But at the end of the day, when you compare these drill bits and you compare the larger one to the screw here, you can see they're almost the same size. When you look at the smaller, let's go for the thinner screw, you compare this one here and you compare it to the drill bit here, you can see again it is almost the same size. You can either take the really long skinny one and try and compare it down here to the drill bit on the gauge here and the actual drill bit here. Now, the reason I'm highlighting this at this point is these drill bits with this tool will be able to drill through solid metal girders and will be able to go through solid brickwork as well. It's got a hammer drill function on it, it goes up to speed number 15, and it is very powerful and is an excellent tool. But as I say, with these, you could drill through an inch thick of metal. You could go through solid brickwork. So why on earth would you want to use this on a screw on a wooden door for something like this? You really do not want to be applying that much pressure. This is why these are best. So I would say I would always recommend hand tools. I would not recommend power tools when fitting locks and escutcheons, door handles and the like, because using screws like this, you're going to rip holes in doors, you're going to do it in far too much and it's going to jam everything up. But for those of you who like power tools and they like the electronic stuff and they don't think hand tools are effective, and you're sitting like this every day for 2-3 hours, by the end of the day you can't use your hands anymore. You do that for 20 years and you're just like this, and you can't even type a text message. This would be the alternative. This is also what I would highly recommend. Of course, it's much smaller in comparison, but you put your screwdriver head in here. Sounds very weak and feeble, but then you're not looking to drill a 1/2-inch screw straight through a solid lump of metal or a thick brick wall. It even goes in reverse. It has forward, it has reverse, and it has a little lights on, so it will highlight where you are drilling or where you are screwing in a screw. So if you like the power tools and you don't want to be using the hand tools every time, what I would recommend is one of these. It's powerful enough to screw in your screws, and you can unscrew it because it has forward and reverse. And the gauge here, you can actually gauge how much tension you want to put on the screw. So you can actually put a little bit on or a lot on. So in a similar way that this has the speed gauge, this has the power on it, so that you can have a little bit of pressure or an enormous amount of pressure. And when it gets to a point where where you're screwing it in and it's potentially getting stuck in a lock, this will actually stop, and it will just simply whir and stop. And so you cannot physically put that screw in too tight into your door or the material that you're screwing into to then need to get another piece of apparatus to drill a hole through, and then, as we demonstrated in a different video, use an easy out tool to then get the screw out of wherever you've drilled it in. So it's a short one today, but in the argument of hand tools versus power tools, this would be my my Amazon recommendation, because this with the screwdriver head on the top is the perfect compromise between the two. It's powerful enough to go eat, and then you can just screw your screws in, undo your screws, whatever you need to do, but it is also not too strong that it is going to literally drive your screw through to the other end of the door or right out the other side, as I had previously done before. So always remember, if this is too weak and too feeble and you don't want to do this, although you can feel exactly what's going on and locksmiths will understand, this is the thing to use, because at the end of the day, as I said, this with these would literally drill through a solid brick wall or would go through an inch of solid metal. So why would you want to use this on something with a screw like this? So that's it. It's a short video, but it's just comparing them for you in like a real life situation as putting in locks and escutcheons. So I thought I'd share my thoughts. I hope you found this interesting, and if you do, please put comments below or like and subscribe, and I'll be very interested to read what people think. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.